Hey you, it's True with a review of the new ZHUGE LIANG. Is she as intelligent as the historic figure that she's based on? Well, I don't know, but I can tell you about her skills and her speed, the latter being quite high at 510. The Fire SSR's first skill is called Rings of Fire. It gives 3 spirit, costs 50 time units and deals 200% damage to all enemies, plus 100% for each charge stored on the user, which means a maximum of 500% damage, ignoring enemy damage reduction effects, counter stand status effects and skin passive skills, granting ZHUGE LIANG burn and healing her for 100% of total damage dealt. Her second skill is the only one that actually costs spirit, 2 of which, and it is called Heat Paralysis. Costs only 10 time units though, and all non-water units on the battlefield are stunned for 150 time units. Ally stun absorbers do not redirect this stun, and allies will not be stunned by this effect if there is an enemy stun absorber on the battlefield. This skill is locked for 150 time units, which means any non-water units without stun wards or stun immunity could be perpetually stunned or paralyzed by this skill. Kong Ming's third active skill is an instant skill and gives 2 spirit, targets 2 other random allies, healing them for 100% of max HP and granting them the burn status effect and piercing. Piercing is a new effect. It sounds a bit funny to me because I'm literally imagining ZHUGE LIANG giving her allies piercings in their ears or stuff like that. But what it actually means is that it's similar to Enrage, but piercing instead means that the next attack will ignore enemy damage reduction effects. Now granted, piercing is a bit wasted if that attack ignores damage reduction anyways, but still nice and can be helpful, especially for those burn units that do not ignore armor, or even the ones that do but have skills that doesn't ignore armor. For example, if we think about Clare's attack all execute, that one becomes even more crazy with piercing. Speaking of executes, Kong Ming also brings one to the table, and that is called Dragon Slam. No spirit cost, 50 time units, and deals 500% damage to 1 enemy, 600% if she has 3 charges. Allies gain spirit equal to the number of units that were burning at the start of the turn. So even though it doesn't give spirit straight away, this could be a very spirit positive skill as well. This attack also ignores enemy damage reduction effects and any effects of non-boss enemies that would prevent the target from being defeated. At 600% armor ignoring execute skill sure sounds nice. No, not even any spirit requirement, but there is one though. She can only use it if her HP is at 50% or less. And after using that skill, she will do a life flip. However, that requirement is quite strict if we look at her passive skills next, because getting the turn under 50% HP might not be all that easy given her strong defensive capabilities. Her first passive, Burning Passion, specifies that she gains 20% damage reduction from attacks for each burning ally on the battlefield, up to 80% max. She is stun immune, cannot be defeated by damage from burn status effects, and enters the battle with mega healing burn for 100 time units. Whenever another non-conjured unit, ally or enemy, on the battlefield is defeated or sacrificed by any source, she gains a charge, and she never loses them until she leaves the battlefield. Very important for her first and fourth active skill. Mega healing burn is of course not to be underestimated because it heals her each turn at 20 times the rate as healing burn and cannot be overridden by poison or sleep. After it expires, it turns into healing burn instead. That's not even where her survivability ends, because her second passive, Blazing Vengeance, gives her a hold ground as well. which is especially potent in combination with her not being able to die to burn and having mega healing burn. When another non-conjured ally on the battlefield is defeated or sacrificed by any source, it immediately gives one other random burning ally the next turn. However, this does not trigger if it is ZHUGE Liang that is dying. This is quite a nice momentum breaker if one of the burn units on her team goes down. Also, each time ZHUGE Liang takes damage from an attack and survives until after the end of the turn with more than 1 HP, she will grant a random non-burning ally and non-burning enemy the burn status effect. Very nice. And she will also heal for 10% of max HP for each burning unit on the battlefield, which means up to 80% healing on top of her other survivability factors, on top of her also 80% armor at that stage, if there is everybody burning basically. So really tanky unit and a great support for any burn team. And that already brings me to the analysis section, or the summon or skip question, which honestly is even more easily answered than with Clare, because ZHUGE Liang you really only want to run in a burn team. Her teammates basically need to be stun immune. You could also add Kronos to the mix, but that's basically it in my opinion. Now in terms of who is better, Clare or ZHUGE Liang, they are both for different roles, but in terms of prioritization I would go for Clare over ZHUGE Liang, especially in terms of power. So a fully awakened Clare and one copy of ZHUGE Liang sounds like a great deal if you have to decide between those two. Now maybe there are some hybrid ideas for ZHUGE Liang, given that she could act as a pseudo guard, given that technically she wouldn't stun water teammates, but I mean, she still kind of wants to have everything burning on the battlefield to make the most of her own tankiness and survivability. Her damage scaling on the other hand is not quite as high, or not nearly as high as Claire's, but both of them together probably a good idea if you can afford it. And if you can't, and if you run a burn team or want to run a burn team, then I would still definitely recommend to pick up one copy if that is all you can afford. Even you don't need to put all that many resources into her. I think most of her value already exists at a very low power level. As to when to summon, if you have the patience, I would recommend to wait until a lucky fountain comes out. There is still an overlap between ZHUGE Liang's banner and the next lucky fountain, which means summoning would give you some nice fountain rewards, and you would also potentially already have a view on Pinocchio leaks, which, who knows, might change some things about how potent Kong Ming really is gonna be on the battlefields. I think it has already become quite clear from what I've said so far, but if you run any team that isn't burn or burn stun, then do not summon this unit. Skip, wait for Pinocchio potentially, and otherwise try to endure the burn resurgence. That's it. Hope you found this review helpful. If you did, leave a like, much appreciated. Subscribe to become a true carrot, and as always, thanks for watching.